Welcome to Adjusting, a safe space for candid conversations about mental health and well-being with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Whether you're recovering from trauma, redefining your purpose, managing mental health, or simply craving more authenticity, this show is for you. I hope something resonates with you and helps you on your own personal journey. So sit back, relax, and let's start adjusting. And welcome back to episode 8 of Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. No, I don't have any sponsors yet, but you can support me in other ways. As you know, I am a multi-hyphenate and I have other pages and platforms that I am trying to build. So if you want to support me in those ways, this is how you can do so. I have Earthy and Culture, which is my vegan wellness page. So you can follow me there. Nelson Design Lab, which is for branding and marketing and basically what I use to create Adjusting Podcast. Follow me there. The Detailed Gentleman is my men's fashion lookbook. Follow me there. And then if you just want to know more about me as a performer, you can follow me at Justin G. Nelson on all platforms. Shout out to TJ Bolden, who edits my podcast. And if you have some more time after this episode, head over to Tea with TJ podcast and give it a listen. It's very good. Now for our breathing. So today's episode is going to be kind of a heavy one because it's something that I have wanted to talk about for a while, but I didn't want to just come out with episode 2 talking about this. I wanted to, build up to it. But today's episode is going to be about grief. We're going to do 3 breaths for this episode just to really center and ground ourselves to receive the information and to be able to release whatever it is we need to in this space, this safe space that I'm hoping you feel welcomed in. And then you can leave with some type of material or tool or knowledge to get through whatever grieving season you're in. This can be a timeless episode because grief doesn't have a time limit. Come back to it as often as you need to because we all need this. So feet planted on the ground, relax your shoulders, relax your neck, relax your forehead, relax your stomach, relax your thighs. Let your feet rest on the floor. Put your hands gently on your thighs. Close your eyes. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. Okay? You can do this when you get home. And just take a deep breath in on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And let it out. 1, 2, 3. Again, deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. And let it out. 1, 2, 3. This last one, I really want you to breathe in. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And let it out. 1, 2, 3. Good job. So today's episode is adjusting to grief. We are in some heavy times, okay? Post-COVID, death has just not been the same. I mentioned in a couple of episodes ago, I lost a lot of friends and family members during the pandemic, but just recently, Jesus, everyone around me is losing a loved one. And grief doesn't only deal with death of a person. It can be grieving a job, grieving a friendship, grieving a creative life that you thought you wanted but it just never came, and you came to terms with letting it go. But that hurts. You spend so much time and energy building a relationship and building a friendship and building your skills for this thing, and then it's just gone. And you're stuck like, why me? What do I do now? How did this happen? I didn't see this happening. So before we get too far, what is grief? Grief is defined as the human response to loss of a loved one through death. But we know as humans grief also shows up in other ways: loss of relationships, loss of opportunities, loss of identity. So when it comes to understanding grief, we always ask, like I said, why did this happen? Who am I now? How do I move on? When do I move on? And I just want to sit with that for a second, because I've had to grieve a lot of friendships. Um, Through therapy, though, I found that I was already grieving them, but didn't really have the words or did understand the process of grief. I mentioned my father passed in 2011, and my friend was really concerned. They was just like, you didn't cry, or you seem fine. I was fine. I've come to a point where I understand death a little differently. I understand our time on earth is for an appointed time, and that what we do on earth, matters and makes an impact. And my prayer with this podcast is that it is a part of God's purpose for me being here as an advocate or a vessel to bring people to mental health, to know that you can go to church and have a therapist, because some people really wrestle with that and struggle with the concept of, well, my pastor or my church should do. Your pastor needs a therapist. Your minister needs a therapist. There are ministers that are therapists that need a therapist. So it's not, I don't want to say it's not fair to put all the responsibility on the church to help heal those things, when a lot of the Bible can be misinterpreted to fit a certain situation to make you feel good, but you still got to deal with it. This is not Bible study. This is my podcast. So, some common misconceptions with grief. Myth number 1: grief has a set timeline. You can be triggered by a scent, by a song. I will tell you this: Temptations in the Christmas, cut it off. I won't be able to make it. In my mind, don't hit the same no more. Because that used to be my dad's jam. Like the Temptations Christmas album, we used on repeat, okay? Now I can't even stand to listen to the song. And I love the Temptations. My friend Jawan is in the Temptations now. Shout out to you. But it's just not the same. Number 2, the second myth is you need to be strong and not show emotions. Show your emotions. Showing emotions has to be one of the healthiest things you can do as a human to process your grief. Now, when your emotions start to affect other people, that's when we need to talk. We need to sit down and say, woo woo, like how can we find some better, healthier ways? Because I don't need you beating people up to show your emotions. Number 3, if you're not crying, you're not grieving. Again, that's what my friend said to me when I lost my father, and that's just tears and me we didn't talk in 2011. I sat in silence. My roommates, bless their heart, my roommate was just like, Justin, you're okay in there? I said, I'm good. You're real quiet. Baby, I don't know what else to do right now. I am not in Memphis, and yeah, this is a lot. Number 4, grief only applies to death. It does not. I have lost friends I thought would go be in my wedding. I don't know about the marriage part, but I have lost some friends that I really thought would go be there to the end, and they got barely to the middle. And number 5, the myth: moving on means forgetting. Now, let's be real. We don't forget much. Now, like I said, there will be certain triggers and things that might come up that will force you to remember it, and I really tried to forget it. But healing involves finding a new normal while honoring the loss. So give yourself grace. Grace and grief need to meet at some point, so that you can, say, don't blame yourself for what happened. Know that it happened because it had to happen. And I pray that you're able to give yourself grace through your process of healing to get to a new you. Because losing something, whether it's a loved one, a person, a job, a career, an identity, is hard, But once you are able to get through that grieving process, it then creates, it's like another timeline almost. Like you're creating this new you without this person. Not saying you have to fill that void with someone else and make them that person, but it's just that time you need to figure out like your next step. Now, the grief process. There is a Swedish scientist, I believe. Her name is Stephanie Kubler Ross. There's a 5-step method that does not have to go in order. I thought it did because, in therapy, I was just like, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Those are the steps, but they do not happen in order because a lot of people go straight to anger. I went to denial when it came to friendship losses. So with denial, there's the initial shock and the disbelief. You're just like, no, I can't believe this happened. No, no, it's not so. It's not so. We've all experienced a denial stage with grief. Number 2, anger. So the frustration and the emotional outbursts. My heart goes out to people grieving, and that anger stage, it is hard to watch because you just want to hold them. You want to wrap them up and say it's going to be okay, knowing that they have to get this out. The third step is bargaining, attempting to regain control. Sometimes that's wrestled with delusion, and it's just like you're telling yourself it's going to be okay. I'm good. I got this. I can move on. Can you? It's okay. Like, you do not have to be strong for anyone else but yourself. If one day you're good, next day you're down, that's just your flow with grief. Honor it. Number 4, depression. I think a lot of people, when they hear grief, they hear depression and think they're just like sisters and they're just stuck together. But depression is a part of the grief cycle. Depression can live along, but you get depressed about something else, and that doesn't correlate with grief. But with depression, it is the sadness and the withdrawal of it all. And then number 5, the 5th step or the 5th stage in grief is acceptance. A lot of us think we get to acceptance and then we go back to the depression, then we go back to the denial. But listen, once you get to acceptance and really can move forward, shout out to you. That is adjusting to the new reality. So just remember that these 5 stages are not, there's not one set order. It's not linear or universal. It can happen at any order. I think I've reached the stage of acceptance with friendships, at least. And I usually hit them with the Marie Kondo. Thank you so much for what you brought to my life. Thank you for showing me that I deserve better. Thank you for the lessons that you gave me knowingly and unknowingly. And I wish you well. May you have the life you deserve. And I move on. So we're moving on. Now, I want to reemphasize that what the non-linear nature of grief is. Grief is a cyclical process. So that circle, them 5 steps, it just happens. Number 2, experiencing multiple stages simultaneously. You can be angry and in denial. I think bargaining and acceptance can sometimes be like that fight that happens. And you can revisit certain stages over time. I think I lived in depression for a while. Depression and denial when it comes to auditions. It was just like I got so close and didn't get it. And then it happened again. And I'm just like, why do I keep allowing myself go through this? Like, I think I questioned it for a while. Like, am I meant to do this? But then my chart said you were born to be a performer. So I was like, okay, we just got to figure something. It's not me. It's not me. It's them. And the last thing is triggers can intensify certain steps. So like I mentioned with music, holidays, events, dates, those are all triggers that can send you back into the cycle of grief. It's hard. Grief is messy. Grief is not cute. But I just wanted to really talk about this because we all grieving some way or another. So I just want y'all to have these steps before we go into this holiday season so you'll know how to deal with it. So here are some more signs of grief. If you're not dealing with grief, but you know someone who could be going through a season of grief, but they don't have the words to explain it, or they become very much of a recluse and just like, I'm fine. Here are some signs. So some physical signs include fatigue, sleep disturbances, change in appetite, weakened immune system, increased risk of illness, and then emotional impact. There's like the mood swings and the irritability and anxiety, difficulty concentrating, feelings of emptiness and numbness. You listening? Number 3, cognitive effects. You have grief brain, which is forgetfulness and confusion, intrusive thoughts or memories, behavioral changes, including social withdrawal, changes in daily routines or habits. And then number 5, long-term effects of if grief is unaddressed, which is prolonged depression and complicated grief disorder. So I'm going to stop there. If you are number 5 and you're dealing with long-term effects of grief, please reach out to me and I will connect you with a therapy platform. You should not be suffering alone when there are people out. There's free therapy available. And I just want you to come out of that and find that joy again because I don't want you suffering. Okay. So try to liven this up some. When it comes to grieving friendships in other areas of life, this is what it looks like. Grieving friendships, acknowledging the loss and its significance. That's step 1. Number 2, allowing yourself time to process those emotions. Okay? You and your friends went through a lot together probably. And it just wasn't, you didn't see it coming. And now you're just like, bruh, you really let me down. I don't want you to blame yourself. Just know that it was probably time to go a long time ago and you were just ignoring the signs. And I just want to say this. People who pacify people's personalities by saying that's just who they are, I blame y'all sometimes. I want you to be a better friend and call them out on it because sometimes that's them using a personality as a way to cope or mask how they really feel about something, but because it's become their identity, we're just, yes, this is how they, that's how you've allowed them to be. We're not doing that anymore. So use that somewhere. Number 3, reflecting on the lessons learned in the friendships. So like I said, thank you for everything you taught me, what you gave me, the highs and the lows. Number 4, focusing on nurturing existing relationships. We don't always need as many friends as we think we do. We can go back to the ones that we have now and say, hey, let's talk. Like what more do you need from me as a friend so that we can grow our friendship a little more? Because we get all these friends and all these people in our business, and then we just like, I don't need all these friends no more. I think this is just what happens when you get older. I'm not old, but when you get older, you're just like, I value quality over quantity. Number 5 is practicing self-reflection to understand your role in the friendship's end. It was just time to end it. And no hard feelings. I wish you the best, but it won't be with me. Considering reaching out for closure, if appropriate. Everyone doesn't get the closure they deserve, and sometimes that's a part of the grieving process. And if you don't get the closure, just take that as closure and just give yourself a little time to grieve, give yourself grace, and move on. When it comes to careers and creative endeavors, here are some ways to look at the grief process in that. So reframing the situation as an opportunity for growth. One door closed leads to another door open. That's something we say a lot. But it's also, think about the things you learned in that job. Think about the skills you picked up. When I worked at Just Salad for 3 months, okay, I don't want to say I grieved it because I knew it was just wasn't working for me in that moment. Like I signed up to work social media. I think I did social media twice in those 3 months. I was stuck doing event planning and graphic design. It's just not what I signed up for. And I had left a great job because it was just like, Nelson Design Lab is thriving. I'm not going to go back. I learned a lot. But it was hard leaving it because I knew everyone else felt the same way I did. But listen, I can put together a mean Excel sheet now. I can plan an event. I have way more project management skills. I'm not looking for a job though. Thank you. Number 2 is updating your skills and pursuing further education. So you're just like, maybe I'll use this opportunity to redirect and to expand my knowledge, getting another certification or looking into some workshops or professional development. Number 3, networking and exploring new career paths. So like for me during the pandemic, I didn't know if performance was coming back. I grieved. I almost cried. And I was just like, I went through all this work to be on Broadway and we not coming back. Like, what I'm gonna do? And so I picked up a lot of more hobbies, which turned into careers, and I'm just like, we're thriving. Number 4, seeking career counseling or coaching. Number 5, practicing self-care during job search process. Listen, once you update the resume, you just like, Jesus, take the wheel. Take the wheel, the application, the cover letter, the CV, the interview, take it all. Okay? Take the car because you just never know. That imposter syndrome kicks in. You're just like, I'm not qualified for this. I was doing great in this job and they let me go and I'm just like not qualified. But that's part of the denial of it all. And then you can volunteer and do some work somewhere else. Moving on, when it comes to grieving loss of identity. Now, this was different because I was just like, I want to make sure I speak on all the aspects of grief. So I had to do some research on this one. But when it comes to grieving the loss of identity, this ties into like health changes or retirement or divorce, separation, like those things. Like you've gone from this regular routine and then a sudden thing changes and you're just like, oh, I'm not used to this. And a lot of people see it as, oh, I got all this time, but then you get lonely. And then you're wondering like, ooh, was I supposed to do this? Wow. So here are some things to consider when it comes to grieving the loss of identity. Number 1, exploring new interests and hobbies. Joining a support group for people in similar situations. So this would be more so for people with like health concerns or I don't want to say addictions, but anything dealing with your health. Seeking therapy to work through identity issues, practicing self-compassion and patience during the transition, redefining personal values and priorities, and then creating new routines and rituals to establish a new normal. I love that. I hope this helps with someone. So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about how to experience joy again after grief. So, number 1, allow oneself to feel joy without guilt. I think this is the hardest thing for people to do because they're just like, I feel bad for being happy again after losing someone or after people say they just died. Why they out celebrate? Baby, they gotta live their life. Why you in their business? Why you not helping them be happy? Okay, you judging them, making them feel miserable for finding joy. Listen, let these people live. So what does it look like? Joy and grief can coexist. You can go out, celebrate, have a glass of wine, one glass of wine, maybe if you drink wine. I like wine. Or you can go to a concert or something and find that joy and just let your hair down. If you get in the car and cry, it happens. But you had a moment of joy. And I hope you enjoyed it. Recognize that experiencing joy does not diminish the loss. You can lose a person, a career, or something, and just go hug a tree. Do something, and just to spark the joy again. And it doesn't diminish it at all. So here are some techniques for managing guilt when feeling happy. So I talked about last week with affirmations and your chakras, tapping into that heart chakra and your throat chakra. Wear something green, or light a candle or something that brings you some peace of mind. I think for me, it's like a teak wood moment, or I have this vanilla cashmere body spray, which is like a room deodorizer too. Love it. It just makes me feel happy. Also, reframing your thoughts, really changing your language and how you speak about things. Just like, I am going to be okay. They want me to be okay. Just reframe those thoughts. So the second major component with experiencing joy again is practicing self-care and compassion. Maintaining a healthy sleep schedule, and then eating nutritious meals. I am a nutritionist. I don't talk about it a lot, but I will say when it comes to eating your colors, that's a real thing. Okay. When you get a nice colorful salad without like all the oils, and some of y'all drown it in ranch dressing, like doing that, eating your colors and your food relates to those chakras we talk about. So like the root, the sacral, the sacred solar plexus, throat, heart, third eye, crown chakra, like those things, those colors that correlate with those, boom, it is helping realign your body and your joy. And then exercising, go for a walk, get them 2,000 steps in. I see you. And then when it comes to self-care strategies, journaling, meditating, setting emotional boundaries. Some people don't always have your best interests at heart when it comes to grief, and they want to slip in and manipulate you or take advantage of you at a low point. Set them boundaries. Tell them I ain't got no money. Because people think when people die, people get money and they want to ask for them. Sorry. And then developing self-compassion, treating oneself with kindness, recognizing common humanity and suffering, and mindfulness of thoughts. Find some old hobbies. Coloring is so therapeutic. Find you a playlist that really makes you dance. Like dancing, it has to be a form of healing. Spend time in nature. Like I said, hug a tree. Don't hug me though. Hug a tree. And volunteer. Get around people that really raise your energy. So overall, you can heal through grief. You can find joy again. You can get back to, I don't want to say get back to your old self, but fall in love with this new sense of you. It's a process. I in no way, shape, form, or fashion want you to rush that process to get to joy again. Joy will be there. Let joy be your benchmark. Each month, each week, just find one thing that brings you joy and do that. I am praying for everyone in this season that is sincerely dealing with grief. It is hard. It is not fun. It's a part of life. And I pray that this episode really has helped you wrap your mind around ways to really deal with grief in this season. Not for the sake of downloads or increasing my views or anything, but for the sake of someone you love. Please share this episode with them if you know they can benefit in any way when it comes to grief. Okay? Until next time, bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.